Hello, and welcome to another episode of Under 1000. I'm your host, Thomas Flower. Each episode, I'll read you a piece of super short fiction. All of them are 1,000 words or less. Today, I'll be reading you a short story called Your Sunday Best. Please be aware that this episode does deal with themes of emotional and verbal abuse and has one use of strong language. If that's likely to upset you or anyone that you're listening with, then you might want to skip this one. Come on, hurry up, we're going to be late. Getting yelled at on a Sunday morning. What else could I expect? I'm going as fast as I can, Mum, you'll just have to wait for me. Oh no, Susie, I am not hanging around this morning. We've got to be there on time. I do not want to be shown up in front of all of our friends and neighbours. Just think of... I drowned her out, like turning the dial on the radio. It was a simple trick, but one I'd grown well practiced in over the years. Sometimes you just have to choose not to hear certain things. Besides, we have to make sure that we... Finished! I yelled out, shoving a huge piece of toast into my mouth and running to grab my coat. Well, about time too. Now come on, get in the car. We're only just going to make it on time at this rate anyway, came the all too predictable response. We were silent in the car ride over. What did we have to say to each other anymore? Mum knew that I'd be gone soon. This was one of the last weekends I had left to endure. After that, I was free, off to live my own life and make my own choices without her ever watchful eye on me. I guess she was sad about it, but it didn't really show. Emotions weren't her thing, too embarrassing, and they'd only make the neighbours talk after all. Now, I want you on your best behaviour today, Susie. My mother cut the silence suddenly. None of that acting up like you were doing last week. It doesn't impress anybody, and it makes me ashamed to show my face around the place. Nobody called me Susie anymore. If anyone knew me, they'd know that for sure. Susie might be my name officially, but it wasn't the one I used now. Still, she didn't know me, did she? Not really. Maybe she sort of did, years back, but all that had been lost by now, I reckoned. We pulled into the gravel car park and stepped out of the car. The church looked heaving from here, people standing around making small talk in the grounds while they waited for the line through the door to go down. I wasn't looking forward to any of it at all, but at least it was the last time. Keep up, my mum called back to me, already striding ahead to greet her many friends and acquaintances. I shuffled along behind, looking down at the dirt, hoping I could avoid the inane conversations with people I neither cared about nor respected particularly. Still, why should I? I thought bitterly to myself. It's not like they respect me much either. Or at least, not like they would if they really knew me. I caught up with my mum just as she was settling into a conversation with the MacArthurs from number 26. And how are things with the new job, David? She was saying. I hung back, hoping I could be enough of a presence to be seen as a good daughter, but not so much that they'd actually ask me anything. A good and virtuous child who smiled and said nothing was what she wanted anyway, wasn't it? A silent and obedient girl. They were laughing and smiling, congratulating each other for this and that. I couldn't understand it at all. It was all so different, and I didn't recognize her here. But then, I wondered internally, would they recognize her in any other context but this one? They wouldn't recognize the venom-spitting woman she was behind doors. The one who told me to get in line, who told me to live and behave the way she wanted me to, or to fuck off out her house and never come back. They wouldn't recognize how she withheld her love like a paycheck for services performed. How she turned my life into a single monotony of making endless plays for her love, approval, attention. They wouldn't see her that way. They wouldn't see the manipulation, the cruel punishments, the crushing weight of her expectations, and the killing blow when disapproval came, as it always did. All they could see was this woman dressed up so beautifully, appearing so kind and neighbourly and loving, wearing the face she kept specially to go with her Sunday best. The face she kept hidden the rest of the week, and then slathered on with her lipstick and powders and everything else before we left the house. They'd never see that woman, and they'd never even believe she could exist. I sighed, kicking some small stones around and thinking gloomy thoughts on and on to myself. My mother shot me a disapproving look, making it clear that I was failing to be her perfect daughter once again. I wanted to scream and yell and cry all of a sudden. I wanted to tell them all about the things she said to me when we were alone. I wanted to call out, "I am not your daughter. I am nobody's daughter anymore. I will be my own person and you will have to accept me as I am." Instead, I said nothing. Of course I did. Why spoil things now? There was only 1 week to go. I needed to play the dutiful daughter just a little longer. Soon I'd be free. Soon I could have her out of my life for good. Thank you for listening to Under 1000. I've been your host, Thomas Flower. The theme music is an instrumental version of In Between Days by Nick Tate and the Sharks. To hear the full song and more from the same EP, go to Nick Tate, Nictate, and the Sharks.bandcamp.com, or search for them on your preferred streaming platform. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you'll join us again next time for another piece of super short fiction.